Welcome to the first episode of Ride High Cowboy, the podcast that delves into the darkest pastures of the cowboy state to bring you what really goes on behind barn doors. In this first episode, I'd like to introduce myself and tell you a little about why I started this podcast. My name is Blue, and I've lived in Wyoming my entire life. I love the state that I call home, but for years I've gotten more and more frustrated with the image of Wyoming portrayed as either one of two ends of the small town spectrum. That Wyoming is backwoods, horse riding, uneducated, slow moving folks, or that Wyoming is the overindulgent and overpriced mountain mansions lighting up the snow covered ski resorts high above the rest beyond the antler arch that is Jackson, Wyoming. I've met people from all walks of life who either hadn't heard of Wyoming at all or had one of those two misconceptions embedded in their minds. In recent years, I've also seen a surge in YouTube videos discussing Wyoming, the beauty of its landscape, the reasons you should visit, or the reasons you shouldn't. Ironically, the majority of these videos are uploaded by people who have never lived in Wyoming, and I'd like to shed some light on the real cowboy state through the crime and grit that got this state to where it is today. Wyoming is known really for only three things: Jackson with its incredible ski resorts, Cheyenne Frontier Days, the daddy of them all, the world's largest outdoor rodeo, and the University of Wyoming. Within recent years, the state also received notoriety when a few big-name celebrities made the trek to call Wyoming home. Kanye West and Jeffree Star moved to Wyoming to live the cowboy life, complete with state-of-the-art ranch properties, yaks, and a lot to learn. I can already hear those of you who followed these celebs typing angrily that plenty of celebrities own homes in Jackson, and they have for decades. And you're right. Since its inception, Jackson has attracted the rich and famous with its beautiful mountains, flourishing economy, and bougie amenities. From Kanye's ski home to the famous Waltons of Walmart and the Mars Candy Bar heirs, Jackson has had its fair share of quiet celebrity. However, as you'll see throughout this podcast, Jackson is in a league very separate from the rest of the state. In speaking to every born and bred Wyomingite I've ever met, Jackson is not Wyoming. Jackson is Jackson. When Kanye West and Jeffree Star moved to Cody, Wyoming, a small town that had previously kept to itself, the state grew rowdy with comments about everything from crashed pink Bugattis to domed housing for the homeless, to a suspicious divorce and the subsequent abandonment and possible sale of Monster Lake Ranch. It turns out that Wyoming is actually known for four things: Jackson, Frontier Days, the University of Wyoming, and celebrity ranches. While all four of those topics deserve their own episode, I want to start by bringing to light the true Wyoming. I want to use this podcast to bring you into the dark, mysterious, and sometimes deadly history of the cowboy state. The past that is rarely spoken of and often forgotten. The brothels, train robbers, mysterious disappearances, crimes, and the courageous law enforcement that continues to keep this state safe. This podcast will be a historical telling of the history of Wyoming and the crimes that began with the statehood through to the criminal mysteries of today. I'll take you on a journey of the cowboy state from the 1800s to today, a world far from ski resort mansions, safely helmeted 8-second rides, and valedictorians. A world before yak meat made its way through Cody restaurants and Yee wasn't trying to build manufacturing plants in an amphitheater. Ride High Cowboy will dive deep into the true crimes of Wyoming to reveal the dark side of the cowboy state. I'm excited to saddle up and embark on this journey, and I hope you'll join me for the ride.